What is up, Level Up Nation, and welcome to this Thursday, September 30th edition of LvLUp Live, your home for gaming and esports news, brought to you by OTN Media. My name is Fiasco. You can call me John, and I am always joined here on LvLUp Live by my good friend, the courtside king, Joey. What's up, buddy?
John, I thought it was going to be a slower week in gaming and esports, but things just started to pop off, especially today. Lots of news coming out. So, I mean, we have a ton to cover, from rosters to partnerships to acquisitions to some gaming news, maybe even some gaming leaks, a couple upcoming events. We got it all today.
It's going to be a spicy episode for sure. And of course, if the episode's going to be spicy, you know we're probably talking about some of those hot topics throughout the day, which means you should honestly be following the show on social media so you can get caught up on what topics we're going to be talking about. You can follow LvLUp Live on Twitter and Facebook at LvLUp Live. That's at LvLUp Live. And while you're on Twitter, you might as well be following the two hosts of LvLUp Live. Of course, that is Joey at Courtside King and myself at Fiasco. If you are watching here live on Twitch, first off, welcome. Welcome to the live show. Twitch is the best way to experience the show. Don't worry, we do have a podcast version as well. But if you are watching on Twitch, you can find those handles right below the mugshots you're currently staring at. And if you are listening to the podcast version of the show, they'll be in the show notes for you below. But speaking of the podcast, if you wish to listen to the show later on down the road, maybe on your commute into work, maybe on your flight across country to your next esports event or to your next convention, or wherever your life journey is taking you, you can follow the podcast version on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and pretty much everywhere else you can find a podcast RSS feed. Just look up LvLUp Podcast and we will be there. Just one favor, if you are listening to the podcast version of the show, please do leave us a review and rating. They go a long way, not only helping grow the audience base for the show, but it gives us that critical feedback that we want to make sure that this show is what you, our listeners and viewers, want the most. So please, please, please feel free to give us that feedback and ratings. And while you're at it, we have one other thing. If you want to be a super fan, if you want to be a part of the inner OTN circle family here at LvLUp Live, we have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/OTN. We're spicing things up. You definitely want to be a part of the growing community for sure. Check out patreon.com/OTN for some amazing tiers if you wish to support LvLUp Live and OTN Media as the world is emerging out of the pandemic times, as live person events are coming back in person. If you want to help us create some of the best content in esports, feel free to take a look at patreon.com/OTN. Consider becoming a larger OTN LvLUp fan if need be. If not, no worries. We are glad to have you here as a viewer and a listener. All right, Joey, what are we talking about? You teased about it a little bit today. Can you give us a little more insight on what we might be talking about today?
Yeah, John, we got everything. So we have a bunch of roster moves. We're going to pretty quickly move through those. We're going to talk about some expansions, the NBA2K League expanding and adding a 24th team. We have some studio acquisitions, one by Netflix, in fact. So diving into that, some new big partnerships, multi-million dollars on the table. Halo Championship Series has their first event announced. We'll be diving into that. We have some new characters heading to Fortnite. We have we have a lot, John. We have a lot of stuff in the news to cover. Microsoft in the news, Sony in the news, everyone pretty much in the news this week. So we'll be breaking it all down for you guys.
You know what else is in the news, Joey? My allergies. Oh my gosh. I don't know about you, but I've been sneezing a storm. I can feel like 5 coming on right now. So if all of a sudden I like break off camera, it's because I'm sneezing my brains out. So I do apologize for that. Podcast listeners, you are the lucky ones. You won't have to see it. I'm going to mute my microphone before it happens. All right, Joey, we have our topics, but before we can even dive headfirst into today's episode, of course, we have to talk about the drink of choice. I'm a little embarrassed by my choice, Joey, but I'm going to let you go first here. What is your beverage of choice, sir?
Yeah, I'll be honest. We have dropped the ball on drink of choice for quite a while now, and it's not going to change tonight. I am with water. I have a lot of water. I'm a little behind on my water drinking today. I try to drink a little over 1.5 gallons or so each day, so I got quite a bit of catching up to do tonight.
Joey's going to float away over there. He's drinking like an ocean over there.
Hey.
It's healthy. It's healthy, though. I'll give you that. Joey, so I bought a Bud Light Seltzer variety pack a couple weeks ago, and what I've been essentially been doing is just doing a lucky grab bag, and up until this point I've been lucky enough not to grab the most stereotypical seltzer in that box. Unfortunately, that streak ends today Joey, I have the Bud Light Seltzer pumpkin spice version. I'm very embarrassed. I'm very upset. I've not had it yet. I have a lot of people tell me it tastes like liquid fall mixed with alcohol, which probably is correct. Let's see. I hate that I like that. I absolutely hate that I actually like that. Joey, you have your water. I have my beverage that I hate, but absolutely am going to enjoy. Let's get right into it. Let's get right into gaming esports news. Let's go.
I love that you hate it and enjoy it at the same time. I feel like there's a little bit of a weird mixture going on there, sir. But either way, I hope you do enjoy it more than you hate it throughout tonight's broadcast.
Not going to happen.
We will wait and see. Let's talk rosters, guys, just to run through some of these, just because for time's sake, we're not going to dive into these as deeply as usual. 100 Thieves has added Boy to their starting Valorant roster. They've been carrying him as a sub for several months now. He's debuted finally with the team, and it looks like that will be the way they will be moving forward with that roster. G2 Esports has signed XSET's old CSGO roster, and it is an all-female roster headed up by Giuliano, and it is going to be moving from CSGO to Valorant as well. Over to the Rocket League scene. Big updates coming out from Rocket League. I believe we touched on it last week, maybe the week before. Evil Geniuses said, hey, we like your updates, and we're joining back into the scene. So EG, now the Rocket League team, re-entering into that scene. And then last but not least, FaZe Clan has added producer and DJ Kason as their latest member. This is something FaZe does. 100 Thieves does it as well. They try to go up and beyond just gaming. They try to become more of a lifestyle brand. We've seen it with clothing. We've seen it with music deals. This is another one of those deals where we see someone who kind of blends into both the gaming world as a streamer. I believe he streams Warzone, Grand Theft Auto, a couple other games out there on his Twitch channel, as well as someone who is also involved in music. So it kind of fits both boxes for FaZe Clan here as well. Then from there, let's talk the NBA 2K League. John, they have added their 24th team, and it's a first team based in Latin America, Mexico to be exact. Team DUX or Dux, I'm not 100% how it's pronounced. The second non-NBA back team past Gen G, who came over from Shanghai, China last year. And it's going to be a pretty big deal, John. This is a $25 million spot, according to Sports Business Journal.
Yeah. So not only is the price tag pretty big, but this goes to continue what the 2K League is trying to do, which is expand their international footprint. There are several things unique about Dux coming over. First off, they're originally established in Spain. They're a European Spanish-based team originally. So now moving into the 2K League, they're transitioning their home base for 2K to Mexico, which is really exciting. And unlike Gen G of Shanghai, which is currently based out of facilities of the University of Kentucky, they will actually be playing out of Mexico. Rumor has it right now they're establishing a center in Mexico City or just on the suburbs of Mexico City, but it looks like it's going to be Mexico City based, which is really big. It's going to be the first internationally based team outside the borders of the United States, which is really, really cool. Something that, it's just such a unique experience. We saw Overwatch League kind of do that a little bit too, with the London Spitfire and the Paris Eternal, along with all the Asian-based teams, the Seoul Dynasty, Shanghai Dragons. They're all based in their home cities. This is same thing in the 2K League, except Shanghai is actually in Kentucky and not Shanghai, but Dux is actually going to be in Mexico, and I think it's really cool. This organization has a lot of hype around it. They have dabbled in 2K before. Now they're joining the league. I think it's absolutely great. And to be honest, Joey, if the rest of the NBA is not going to join in, I have no problem opening doors to esports organizations that want to come in to the 2K League, because at the end of the day, that's a scene that is desperate to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a scene that's looking to grow. There's some crossover here with the NBA, but there is limited crossover in other areas. And I think that's one way to expand the brand too. Not only is this expanding the NBA 2K League brand, but you're expanding the NBA brand as well. Something like Gen G over in China, NBA is very popular over there, but so is esports. This could be a way to get more viewers, not only for the NBA 2K League, but the NBA as general. And I just think it's another way to make more connections, and that's really what a lot of this is about. So I think this is a big win across the board for them. Now, $25 million, we're not going to touch too much on this. That is a very steep price tag. That's around the same price as what we're hearing Overwatch League teams, Call of Duty League teams, even higher than League of Legends teams in some instances. So whether that price tag is quite worth it is still a little bit of a question mark for some people out there. But this team ready to make the dive in. Studio acquisitions. Netflix has acquired Night School Studio, the development team behind Oxenfree, a pretty well-renowned title. John, the bigger story here, not just Night School Studio being acquired, but Netflix doing the acquiring. We're in a day and age where we're seeing EA pick up publishers, or EA pick up studios rather. Microsoft pick up even publishers with Bethesda. Sony's made a lot of acquisitions recently. Amazon has made it known they're looking for acquisitions. Google dabbled in acquisitions for a bit and then said, hey, maybe we're not about this life. But there's some big players out there. Tencent, Embracer, a lot of them out there. Netflix is no different. They're not really super involved in gaming at this point. When you look at movies, you look at TV shows, they've continued to look into bringing on different third parties as well as make their own content. And they've done a pretty good job of it. They just turned in their first positive, or I guess revenue making quarter this past quarter. So Netflix finally moving into the positives, into the greens. And now they're looking, well, hey, now that we're making some money, where can we reinvest it? And it looks like gaming might be the answer for them.
Yeah, it's really strange talking about Netflix. I mean, when you take a look at the evolution of Netflix, we're talking about essentially the company that put Blockbuster and all of your home movie rental stores out of business. For old Gen Z out there, I apologize. Find a dictionary and look up what Blockbuster, or go to Google and look up what Blockbuster was. But they essentially, killed off the movie rental industry by allowing you to rent DVDs through the mail. And we're talking like 2-3 day delivery. It's like you can plan ahead, and it was so cool. And then all of a sudden they introduced live streaming, and it was absolutely insane. And now here's Netflix continuing to expand their portfolio by acquiring a game studio. It's nuts. It's nuts. Netflix is trying to find new ways to maybe justify raising their sub prices like every 4 months, it feels like. But nonetheless, this is actually a really, really cool acquisition for Netflix. I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, I'm super curious as well. Like, do we see this become something like, I believe it's Minecraft, and there's like one other one where they kind of have like an interactive story type of thing going on. Do we see more of that from Night School Studio and these acquisitions for Netflix? Or does it almost become like a Game Pass style of catalog? Maybe it's just first party Netflix games. Maybe you make partnerships with like a Sony or a Take-Two, and you pull in some other games and almost compete with Game Pass head on as well. I feel like there's a few different paths they could take here, but either way, I like Netflix trying to get into the space, and I think more competition will probably breed some more evil overall. Firespite has announced the acquisition of Manchester-based studio Fabric Games. Firespite was recently acquired by Sony and joined PlayStation Studios family. I believe it was a couple weeks ago at this point, maybe 2. So in the end, this is another acquisition. It technically falls under the PlayStation brand, but they are branding it as Firespite, making the acquisition. Fabric Games recently worked with Firespite on a PSVR horror shooter titled The Persistence. I can't tell you anything about it because I'm not really sure what the game is, but we do know this is an area that Sony has kind of gone back and forth with VR. They closed a few VR studios, but they are working on a new VR, like PSVR 2 headset. So they're pouring more money into VR, but they're still not quite sure what they want to do with it. It seems like this is kind of a first-party move. And then Sony also announced the long-awaited acquisition of Bluepoint. We've been teasing that on the show for, it feels like, almost a year now. It is finally done. The deal has been made. Bluepoint were the ones behind the remake of Demon's Souls, and they have now joined the PlayStation family as well. So, John, overall, Netflix getting in, but PlayStation here making some big moves, bringing in Fabric Games as well as Bluepoint. I think that's a big move for PlayStation.
Yeah, I don't want to say Sony is playing catch-up, but they are trying to respond to what Xbox is doing with all of their acquisitions for the initiative. I feel like a lot of people were caught off guard by how fast Xbox moved, Microsoft and Xbox moved, acquiring gaming studios. I know it felt like every week, Joey, we were talking about at least 2 or 3 studios Microsoft was acquired here on the show. At least that's what it felt like. And now here's Sony going like, hey, look, obviously Xbox has something good going for them. Otherwise, all these studios wouldn't be joining the initiative. Otherwise, a lot of people wouldn't be diving headfirst into this idea of a subscription-based gaming service like Xbox Game Pass. There you go. Chalk it up. I'm the first one to mention it today. It's just one of those things where it's like Sony is now reacting to it. And maybe reacting is a strong word. But Sony wants to acquire and make a mark for themselves also. For the longest time, they have been the number one gaming console in the world. And Xbox is really starting to become a threat for them. Still, international sales is where PlayStation makes their money hand over fist. But here in North America, Xbox is really starting to come alive and really pushing Sony to the limits. And that's a market Sony can't afford to lose. So I expect to see more big acquisitions coming in the future as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sony is huge. They're by far the biggest person you mentioned internationally. Even in the US, they still sell extremely well. The PS5, can't find it anywhere. Same with the Xbox Series X, but especially the PS5. I mean, overall, this is a big move. I think Bethesda kind of pushes this a little bit with Microsoft going out and getting someone as big as Bethesda, Sony sitting back and kind of watching Tencent buy up. It feels like 30 studios over the year. Embracer has bought a ton as well. They're in talks with like 100 plus. So we're seeing all these studios go one way or another, and Sony's kind of sitting by like, we have great titles, we have great studios, but in today's like arm race of studio acquisitions, we got to get involved. We have relationships with these studios already. We may as well lock them down and make them first party. And that's kind of what we're seeing here with stuff like Blue Point. Not as much with Fabric, but Firespite is one they've worked with before. Fabric to a degree with the VR game. And I feel like this is a good way to kind of move them under that Sony/PlayStation umbrella and kind of make them their own before someone like a Tencent, before someone like an Embracer decides to come through and offer them a big deal. So good moves from Sony. I'm surprised Microsoft has been as quiet as they have been in the acquisition department, but I feel like it's only a matter of time before we see them bite back. Over to some partnerships and investments. Fnatic, John, I feel like just last week we talked about a multi-million-dollar deal for them. They just signed another one. This is a multi-million-dollar 3-year partnership, this time with ASOS, ASOS. And ASOS will be joining as the official retail fashion partner of Fnatic, and they will take over as the primary front of jersey sponsor as well. Previously, it was OnePlus. I think that deal was like 3 years as well. So they've been around for a while, the OnePlus brand on that Fnatic jersey. In the end, OnePlus decided after the extensions that they weren't going to extend again, or maybe Fnatic decided they weren't going to extend, but in the end, they ended up going a different direction. Asus coming in with a 3-year multi-million-dollar deal. Seems like a big win for both.
Yeah, absolutely. Fnatic continuing to make moves there as well. It's a great partnership for both. These are the kind of partnerships that make you smile because it makes sense for both parties involved. There's some partnerships out there that make you scratch your head a little bit, but this one is definitely a good fit for both companies.
Absolutely. This next one, a pretty good fit as well. Nerd Street has teamed up with Riot Games and Wisdom Gaming to host NA's first Wild Rift LAN Championship. With events going back to in-person, John, it's nice. We're finally getting those esports LANs again. This will be a new one for a new title. Wild Rift is going to take place October 8th through the 11th in Denver, Colorado. Again, Nerd Street and Riot Games kind of pumping this out as Wild Rift's first big LAN event in NA. So stay tuned for that one again, October 8th through the 11th in Denver, Colorado.
Taking place in one of the best cities in North America also. Look at that.
Hey, yo. Yeah, look at that. If you get out early, you can always do some skiing. Who knows what'll happen. But Wild Rift is kind of one of those up-and-coming titles, so I'm curious to see how the esports scene continues to develop. Fortnite has partnered. This is another thing. We talk about acquisitions often, but Fortnite, it feels like is always adding new people into the game. This recent one is one I did not have on my bingo card, though. They have partnered with 8-time PGA Tour champion Bryson DeChambeau to add him into Fortnite with his own locker bundle. Bryson apparently previously streamed Fortnite on his personal Twitch channel. I don't know how often that happens, but it was previously enough that Epic said, hey, we're going to throw a locker bundle your way, and that is what ended up happening here. So, John, we do have a golfer headed to Fortnite.
All right, Joey, I'm going to have to ask a question here because I just don't understand this. The age category that actually watches and pays attention to professional golf and the PGA, what would you say that age range is?
Probably higher than the people playing Fortnite on average.
Yeah. So right now the number one age demographic, and I really hate the way they broke this down, was 30 to 60. Because I'll be honest, I don't know too many older millennials that are watching golf. But apparently 30 to 60 is the age demographic. I know a lot of our friends in the baby boomer generation are a big fan of golf. But last time I checked, Joey, baby boomers are not playing Fortnite. So to me, this signals to me that PGA is trying to attract the younger generations. I just really don't see this doing all that well. Obviously, has to be some kind of market research to back up this event that proves it has a chance of doing well. I really don't think, 9-year-old Timmy who just got back from, elementary school that just got done swindling mom and dad out of another $20 for V-Bucks is really going to give, 2 axe swipes at the fact that there's a PGA skin in the game. I just don't see it.
I mean, the axe has to be a golf club, right?
It has to be. It has to be
a golf club.
I mean,
so yeah, it's an interesting one. I feel like if anyone really benefits from this, it's probably Bryson. He's coming in here as somewhat of a Twitch streamer. I don't know how regularly he streams. Also, as a PGA Tour pro, he gets his own character in game. He's probably going to get more viewership on his Twitch channel because people actually know who he is now. It feels like one of those things. And he is a younger golfer, John. He is one of the, not the youngest, but on the younger end of golfers. So I think that helps with some connections here and there. But yeah, overall, golf is definitely, I would put it somewhat even less in par than with baseball. Baseball having some struggles pulling in younger audiences, golf to a level even more extreme than that, in my opinion. So we'll see how it translates. But yeah, in the end, I think Bryson is definitely the biggest winner of this deal.
He's pulling in roughly on average 1,700 views a stream.
That's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
Right around LvLUp numbers, right? We'll work on our next PGA title after this. But for now, we're going to swing our way over to Osaka, Japan. John, a new character swinging his way into Super Nintendo World. 2024 is when this is coming, and it's none other than Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong, legendary franchise of Nintendo, making its way to the self-named Super Nintendo World. I'm excited for this, John. I feel like DK is a big part of Nintendo's plans moving forward. They're going to slowly move him in, and by 2024, the ape will be in full effect.
There you go. Who doesn't love Donkey Kong? Another great title from Nintendo. Absolutely love it.
Have you played any old Donkey Kong games, just out of curiosity?
Yeah. Yes,
I used to love like Donkey Kong Country, or I think it was Country.
Yes, Donkey Kong Country was amazing. A few episodes ago, we were talking about, was it here on this show or was it another show? I think it was on Eric's podcast, Starlight Beacon Transmissions. We're talking about playing video games in Walmart and Best Buy back in the day, where you're playing the game, like you're sitting there with your neck cranked up at the ceiling because that's how you had to look at the TV. That was one of those games I remember doing that with. And I remember when I finally purchased a Super Nintendo, one of the games I got was a Donkey Kong game for that as well. So yeah, Donkey Kong is a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of that game.
Yeah, a huge fan of Donkey Kong. So excited to see what they have in the works. As far as the park goes, though, John, just to spend a little bit more time on this topic, I have to ask, if you could design a Donkey Kong themed ride, what would it be?
The first thing that comes to mind is me throwing barrels at something.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I would have to say.
I mean, it checks out.
I mean, it does. I mean, obviously, I would probably say something that's like a log flume. Like it's a water ride. Like a lot of Donkey Kong games, aside from the original Donkey Kong, which is completely different to what it's evolved to, takes place of Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong jumping into a barrel, going down a river, then hopping back on land. So to me, if you put it in an amusement park ride, it has to be like a log flume. It has to be some kind of water ride.
I like the log flume approach. It like a cut barrel, almost like a half barrel type of look to it. I think that would be cool. I feel like there's some other games like with mine carts involved with Donkey Kong too. Something like a roller coaster with a mine cart could be interesting. But yeah, we'll have to see what Nintendo has planned when that comes 2024. Mobile gamers who don't want to play on their phone all the time, BlueStacks is continuing to expand. Currently available, I believe, on Windows and Mac as an application. It will now be available to be played in your browser as well. So if you're on an Android device, you should probably just download the game itself. But if you're on iOS, if you're on a PC, a tablet, whatever, you will now have the option to play BlueStacks via BlueStacks X in the browser. I don't know if we need to touch too much more on this. I think it's a cool kind of quality of life thing. Similar to Xbox with cloud gaming, it's another way to make games accessible to others. It feels like another good move from BlueStacks. Not one that I feel is going to be super, super popular, but it is one of those games that will make it easier for just the average player as well as different streamers as well.
Now BlueStacks was originally created to play mobile games on your computer, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so BlueStacks was created to make mobile gaming less mobile. I love it.
Yeah, and now you can do that even less mobile in a browser if you don't want to download the application. So hey, BlueStacks X now available on your browser. Okay, guys, we're going to head into the Microsoft gauntlet because we have a little bit of Microsoft news to touch on today. Microsoft has launched Dolby Vision gaming for Xbox Series X and S consoles this week, making them the first console to support Dolby Vision. John, we're talking 100 plus games already supporting this feature, bringing brighter highlights, sharper contrast, and more vibrant colors to your Xbox consoles.
Yeah, if you've ever witnessed Dolby Vision for a movie or a TV show that has it enabled as well, it's a completely different experience. I mean, it is such a change of pace from, and I really hate to call it dull, but that's essentially what happens when technology advances. Is that, you know, what we used to be blown away by is now considered dull and boring. Like, Joey, I'm watching replays of sporting events from like 10, 15 years ago, and I'm like, how in the world did I watch this on TV, comparing it to what we have now? And this is like what I feel Dolby Vision is going to do. It's going to make these games pop to a completely different visual level that it's going to become the norm. And eventually the idea of like 2K gaming is going to go by the wayside. It like 4K is going to become the standard. Maybe one day 8K might actually, catch on. But until then, Dolby Vision's there to bring another level of this experience to gamers out there. It's just absolutely crazy. Like, gamers today are going to look back at games from 5 years from now and be like, how do we play these games? Like, this is like unplayable. It's weird.
I'm going to send you a link quickly in our notes here. If you just want to pull this up, scroll down and you'll see a slider. We'll give you guys live with us a little sample of what Dolby Vision looks like on versus off. Overall, it's just a big brightness difference. Like John was saying, it really pulls a lot of different colors. Like if you're looking at an old sports program versus today, the football field, for example, will be so much greener and you'll see so much more vibrancy and just detail overall because of that color. Same kind of thing with gaming. Think of something like a scenic game like Red Dead Redemption, or if your console or PC will run Cyberpunk, something like that, that's super colorful. This is going to bring even more colors into the pitch. It's going to really show a different variety of the game in and of itself, not in the gameplay, but in the way you perceive it. And yeah, if you guys are live with us now, you're seeing much more vibrant colors. It almost looks a little bit hazy in comparison. It kind of has a little bit of more of a grayscale when it's not in the Dolby Vision angle. So very cool seeing just the different vibrant colors that'll come in. And I don't have the number in front of me, John, but I think it's like 130 some different shades of colors that get pulled in by it.
Yeah, it definitely shows you more detail. You can see those depth features a lot more. Like you can see the if you're watching here live with us, the face of the singer that you're seeing on screen in SDR, it's very grayed out. It's very black. You have a hard time seeing like the depth of that person's face. But as soon as Dolby Vision hits, you can see how those neon lights are affecting like the color on her face and the field of view and depth on her face. It's a lot more detailed oriented. You get a stronger picture of what's going on in that room. It makes you really feel like you're right next to this person singing. Versus watching from behind a lens. It's just a more in-depth, vibrant experience, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much it affected almost that feel, like the depth, like you're saying, and also just the shading overall, like the way the color hits her face. So it'll be very cool to see how this impacts environments and character models and everything within games as well. Next up is the Tokyo Game Show. Microsoft had their briefing early this morning for those who were waking up around Japanese night times. This one was interesting. A lot of things came out. Nothing big for North American audiences, but quite a bit for those over in Japan, as well as a few other key countries. Diving into just a couple of the announcements, the biggest one, Microsoft announced xCloud is launching tomorrow, possibly today at this point in these places, in Japan, Australia, Brazil, and Mexico, with over 100 fully localized games for those markets. So, John, this is a big move for xCloud, not only available just in North America, but it's now in 26 different countries, adding Japan, Australia, Brazil, and Mexico, huge markets overall, to that roster as well. A couple other announcements to mention, then we can dive into these a little bit deeper. They also mentioned that they have partnered with over 200 independent developers in Japan through the ID at Xbox program. American players, as well as players throughout Europe and beyond, have been asking for more Japanese-style games. They are coming. 200 indie developers in the works working on titles for Xbox. Todd Howard, the famous Todd Howard, announced that Starfield will be fully localized for Japan as well, including over 300 Japanese voice actors involved in the project. John, 300 voice actors just for the Japanese side. Starfield is going to be a massive game. It's also the largest localization project in Bethesda's history. And alongside Bethesda, Arcane also came out and said the upcoming Redfall game set to come out in summer 2022 will be fully localized in Japan as well. So that's pretty cool, exciting stuff for the Japanese audience. Then last but not least, this is kind of a fun fact. Japan is actually the fastest growing market for Xbox right now. So as Microsoft has been making some big expansions, not only in North America, they've been looking good in Europe and now starting to continue to grow forward in Japan as well. Really big stuff all around here.
Joey, it's only fastly growing because no one can find a PlayStation 5. Even in Japan, nobody can find it. It doesn't exist. I've never seen one in person. I to this day, I swear the PlayStation 5 is just a myth. Until I see one in person, I refuse to believe it's even a thing. So
fun fact, PlayStation is actually very available in Japan.
That's not fair.
It is. Yeah, it's very available. The fastest selling console is actually the Xbox Series S right now. Overall, just to have a disclaimer here, the Nintendo Switch has outsold the hell out of PlayStation and Xbox combined, every single one of their consoles. Nintendo's just dominating over there. But yeah, the S is currently the hottest console over there. As far as shelving, PlayStation 5s are available. So if you want to get one that's not a scalper price, just pay shipping from Japan, guys. That's the way to go about it, right?
Yeah, remember, like, I think the PlayStation 1 and 2, maybe the 3 had it as well. But games used to be region locked. Like, you had to have a console from that region to play games from that region. So, like, if you went to go buy a PlayStation in Japan and you brought it back to the US, you were region locked. You had to get games from Japan to play on that unit. You couldn't get North American licensed games. It made it very interesting. Yeah, there are ways to work around it that came out later on down the road, but I don't think region locking is a thing anymore. But I just remember that, and it's like the idea of going to Japan and shipping a PlayStation 5 back to the US, while it's probably going to be cheaper than the scalpers on eBay. It's just one of those things. It's just it's crazy. It's crazy how like global this whole thing has gotten.
Yeah, continuing to grow globally, and stuff like xCloud is just going to continue to push that forward. That easy accessibility via a browser or an app, depending on what kind of device you're on. We'll see how that continues forward. But yeah, again, xCloud expanding, bringing 100 fully localized games is huge. Bethesda saying, hey, this is going to be even bigger than Skyrim, and it's going to be fully localized to the Japanese market is giant. And on top of that, all these new developers coming in, 200 independent developers working on new projects for Xbox. Xbox made a promise. Phil Spencer came out and said, hey, we are going to expand in Japan. And John, I feel like this is perfectly delivering on it. xCloud, new developers, new partnerships, and just continuing to really saturate that market, as well as bring that Japanese culture and the gaming culture of them to other places as well. Perfect Dark. Guys, we're not going to leave you in the dark on this one. This is a very interesting announcement that has probably pulled in a lot more news than it really needed to, and we're just going to quickly break it down. The initiative, the AAA, potentially Quadra A studio, as certain people have named it, of Xbox has announced a new partnership with Crystal Dynamics, the team behind character-driven games like Tomb Raider, for example, which I absolutely love. Daryl Gallagher. This is why this deal happened. So first and foremost, let's set the table. The initiative, extremely talented. You have developers from Guerrilla, from Naughty Dog, from Crystal Dynamics, from pretty much any big, amazing, award-winning studio that you can think of. There's a good chance someone on the initiative team is from that studio. Now, with that being said, we just had a giant pandemic shortly after the studio was created. We've seen movement throughout the video game industry, and it's so hard to hire certain people right now, depending on what you're asking them to do. So for an in-person studio based in Santa Monica, sure, there's some distance and things like that going on with telecommuting, but at this phase they're heading into, they need to have a bigger team to get things done. And it's not the easiest thing to hire a bunch of people right now. And by a bunch of people, we're talking they need to hire 250 plus people. So what's the best way of going about that to continue production while we're still kind of getting over this pandemic, or at least finding ways to move forward within it? It's to bring on partnerships. Why Crystal Dynamics? This is a big deal. So Tomb Raider, hugely popular. They just did the Avengers game, though, and that one absolutely stank. So a lot of people are like, Avengers, Crystal Dynamics, this is probably a bad deal. It makes the initiative look bad. How is this AAA, Quadra A studio not able to make a game by themselves? The hiring is the big situation, and the reason they're going with Crystal Dynamics is Daryl Gallagher. The studio head of the initiative used to be the studio head at Crystal Dynamics. So this is a way to connect him back into a staff he already knows. He already knows their work ethic. He already knows the way the studio operates, and it brings in 330 some staff from Crystal Dynamics. Now, whether all of them are put in this project, they probably won't be. But overall, you're pulling in a bunch of people who have AAA experience, working with someone they already know how to work with under. So I think this is a huge win overall for me, John, personally. Now, again, I get it. People are like, they spent all this money on the studio. Why can Xbox not deliver through the initiative? It just comes down to really what we're going through with the pandemic, guys. And I seriously think this is a good deal. You already have the relationships built, and this studio is super talented. Like, sure, the Avengers game didn't do as well, but Tomb Raider is a very well-proven series.
Yeah, and I think anyone that is like automatically judging any studio for slowing or delaying anything during this past 18 months, I personally, I think you're out of your mind. I mean, everything is slowed down. Same thing with the gaming industry also. Like, give them time. Like, they pretty much have an extra year now on top of everyone's original expectations to get things going again. Yeah, but I agree with you, Joey. It comes down to who you acquire. It comes down to the skill, the talent that you end up paying the money for to produce that product. Yeah, you can hire people in the gaming industry to produce a certain product, but it may not be at the same level or expertise as some of these other big names. So yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is just the fact they've worked together in a sense. Like, to have people who already worked at Crystal Dynamics and the previous studio head, it should be a pretty fluid transition to kind of get this project up and running. The other thing here, and a lot of people miss this, is big studios partner up regularly. Naughty Dog, the studio behind The Last of Us 2, they partnered with 14 third-party studios. So this is not just a Microsoft thing. This is not just a initiative thing. This is very common in the industry as well. Next up, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick has leaked that Game Pass may have surpassed 30 million subs. The video of the interview has also supposedly been taken down at this point. This was an interview with a Yahoo news source with Phil Spencer and Take-Two Interactive CEO Strauss Zelnick on there as well. They're talking about gaming in today's day and age, talking about the pandemic, talking about the way that gaming is moving in like cloud gaming and consoles and PC, and just what the full landscape of gaming is today. This price ended up getting leaked out. And since then, as of today, the video of the interview has been taken down, supposedly due to the phrasing of Take-Two CEO saying we've got about 30 million subs, speaking about Game Pass. That kind of implies that Take-Two has some kind of ownership over Game Pass or some heavy relationship into Game Pass. That gets messy with two publicly traded companies. So that phrasing, in a sense, has been taken to imply a partnership of sorts is in place, which violates certain shareholder agreements and possibly NDAs as well, since it could impact the stakeholders of either of those companies, as well as different financials. On top of that, John, there is a lot of rumors going around right now that Take-Two has been acquired by Microsoft or is in the works of being acquired by Microsoft. A statement about between these two CEOs, or a CEO and an Xbox head, rather, it gets a little bit messy. It kind of makes people think a little bit more about it if there's some kind of partnership or strategic deal being made between these two. Whether that's an acquisition or not, this is very interesting that it was taken down.
Yeah, Joey, we've got a lot of digging to do into this one to find out more. I love it. I absolutely love it. Kids, it just goes to show you how important your words really can be.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, like, honestly, I don't think this was probably meant to be a ton more. It could have just been like a slip. In the end, I think this could also be Microsoft saying, like, hey, we're not ready to announce that number yet. They might want to see some fluctuations around the holiday. Wait till the next earnings report or whatever it ends up being. But yeah, for now, supposedly 30 million subs on Game Pass that Take-Two has had a part in. So we'll keep an eye out on that one for you guys as well. Halo Infinite, John, the tech preview number 2, weekend number 2. If we want to show a little bit of this map, 4858 is when fragmentation comes up. This will be the new big team battle map that gets shown this weekend. Teams can still dive into all the arena maps. If you want to play 4v4 versus some nice bots, all the way up to Spartan difficulty, or if you want to jump into the new map, Behemoth, which is kind of sand-based, it has a little bit of vehicle play in it, or maybe you're feeling a little interesting. Maybe you want to dive into the new 12v12 big team battle that will be available on Fragmentation. You're loading into the map now for those live with us here on Twitch. John, this is a bigger map. Obviously, with it going to 12v12, you're going to expand the map size. We've had our talk about loot caves already, but I love the idea of diving into a little bit of a bigger PvP setting with the 12v12 team size, adding in vehicles and adding in some different progression throughout the match.
Yeah, super excited to hop on this weekend and try to find those loot taverns or outposts or
What'd you call them?
rooms.
Supply depots?
Supply depots. This is something because it has a freaking door on it. I'm sorry, when I think of a cave, I think of a gaping opening hole into the side of a rock. But this one has a door that has time to unlock. We're not going to get into it, Joey. I think it looks great. I'm super excited for it. I'm really excited for the big team battle. 12v12 is just going to be an absolute chaotic nightmare, and I love it. I think it's going to be really, really exciting. I think it's going to do a lot better than some people might think it will.
I feel like I'm going to get wrecked.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
To be completely honest. But I think it'll be fun. And I think this will also be our first instance of maybe a flying vehicle. Maybe they'll give us a little test of what the flying vehicles are like. Warthogs will definitely be in there. Mongoose probably as well. Or mongoose, I guess, plural. We'll see what it ends up looking like. But yeah, overall, the map looks pretty good. Don't you laugh at my plural over there. I would assume it's mongoose, right? Like the animal would be mongoose. I think the vehicle could be as well. But yeah, it looks cool. Get some new weapons. Get some new vehicles. Mongai, is that what you said?
No, what about wraiths? If they're in there, is it like a wraith eye or is it wraiths?
I think that's just wraiths, but I'm not sure. We'll have to wait till this weekend. Maybe there will be a pronunciation guide as one of the load-in screens. But yeah, I'm super excited. I'm not a big fan of bigger maps, but I think for people who are more used to battle royale styles, this will probably be a nice little fit for them. More player count, higher level maps, a lot more traversal to be done, and also the vehicles. A lot of people love Halo for the vehicles, so it'd be cool to see how they implement them here.
And Joey just doesn't like bigger maps because he gets lost and then he has to call out for mom and dad to come find him.
I just don't like to travel too far to get my kills. I like them nice and high paced. But who knows? I mean, there will be some sniper rifles in here. Maybe I'll sit back, do some sniping. Maybe I'll run forward and get run over by a warthog. Who knows what this weekend will hold? Will come to us soon enough. I believe the testing opens. I think it opens tonight, technically, for the training range. And then I believe the multiplayer component opens up at 1 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Let's keep it rolling, fam. Okay, so we have touched on that. We've talked Halo Infinite. Again, that is this weekend that it kicks off. Tomorrow is when that opens up for multiplayer. Some other things for this week. Game Pass has had a ton of additions. We're not going to go through everything this week, but just to talk about today, because some of these did come out during the Tokyo Game Show. Scarlet Nexus for our JRPG fans out there. That one is downloaded on my Xbox right now. I played the demo. I enjoyed it. It wasn't a game I was going to pay full price for, but now that it is on Game Pass, I'm willing to give it a longer try. Astria Ascending is another game reviewing very well, definitely worth looking into. Mighty Goose, Marvel's Avengers. It honestly surprises me that Avengers took this long to get to Game Pass. I feel like it needed Game Pass to be revived. It did make a deal, I want to say it was on Sony's PlayStation Now in April, so there might have been some kind of exclusivity deal there, and that's why it has taken so long to come. But regardless, Marvel's Avengers, if you want to give it a try, it is now on there. Unsighted, as well as AI, the Somnium Files, which supposedly is also rating extremely high. Definitely worth checking those out if you're sub to Game Pass. The Tokyo Game Show, we talked about it earlier, the Xbox presentation. This is continuing on. So Xbox is done, but Sega is still to go. Square Enix has announcements as well. So it started today, and it's running all the way through October 3rd. Keep an eye out for that one. The Sega announcement is going to be on October 1st, which is tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Other updates in the world of esports sliding through the Halo Championship Series. John, Halo Infinite announced their first major, a kickoff major set to be held in Raleigh, North Carolina. Tickets went on sale yesterday, and guys, this event is selling so quickly, it might in fact sell out by the end of the night tonight. It is at a record pace for an HCS event. John, I am stoked for this event. I think it's cool that Halo is once again returning to potential esports glory. Still a lot of things to be determined, but ticket sales are looking quite good so far.
Should we tell him?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right. So, Joey, the other day when the tickets went on sale was quite the day for me. Had nothing to do with Halo, with the Halo event. But we had a plan together, you, myself, and Drew with OTN, because fun fact, we don't just like talking about esports and gaming. We like to go to events also, believe it or not. And since we've been cooped up for 18 months, we kind of want to go and do that. So, Joey, we attempted to get tickets, and I think we were successful, right? We were able to secure some pretty freaking sweet tickets to this event in Raleigh, North Carolina.
We successfully locked down some tickets. We're working on a press pass as well for OTN. So we will be fully covering the event. We've been approved for cameras and everything at the event as well. So we're super stoked to be there. It's going to be big. We're going to have potentially full press releases or full press, I guess, credentials for everything. Working through the final stages of that now. But yeah, I'm super stoked, John. I mean, Halo is returning. Halo potentially back to what we saw in the console esports glory days. We'll see what it can bring here with the Infinite scene coming out. But to kick things off, John, this is a big tournament. We're talking open play with hundreds of players, then pool play. The final championship bracket for the event is going to be 32 teams in a double elimination style bracket. Normally, these majors are going to run about 24 teams, but because this is the kickoff one, they're expanding a little bit. They expect some hiccups here and there as the game kind of settles it down. But 32 teams, double elimination for the championship bracket with $250,000 as the starting prize pool on the line.
It's not too bad, and you can like buy your way into this event also, right? Like you can qualify to participate in this event or try to participate. Joe, I don't know if OTN is going to be entering a team. I think our OTN esport days might be behind us here a little bit. But nonetheless, I think it's a really cool idea, kind of opening it up to that community to try to maybe have that Cinderella moment where you're going up against, let's say, a Fnatic or a Cloud9. Who knows how this whole thing plays out? But it's actually, I think, a really cool opportunity for a lot of people to kind of get that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm super stoked for it. I believe the online bracket or I believe the open bracket portion starts online and then does move to the LAN style of event. So if you make it through the online qualifiers, you can make it to that LAN event. And then from there are a limited number of team spots to eventually try to make it to that 32 team bracket. But yeah, technically anyone can play. If you and T-Spans want to get together and bring back Boomer Cringe Esports, Boomer Cringe can technically try to qualify via those online qualifiers and then eventually move to that open bracket format. I'm stoked for this. I think it's a great idea. While I'm still a little shaky on the idea of mixing PC and keyboard and mouse and console and controller and mix and matching all the peripherals, which I'm, again, very curious how that's going to work out for them. But I love the fact that we do have partner teams like your Fnatic, your G2, your Cloud9 that do get those automatic qualifications, but then everyone else gets a chance. If they want to become that next big team, potentially, they can work their way up. Maybe they eventually get a contract with a big organization, or maybe they just end up bombing out and they had a good time playing. I think it's just a fun way to kind of involve the full community and really embellish the esports scene to a new level as well. So we'll keep an eye out for that one. Again, guys, we'll be covering that on site when that happens later in the year. December, I believe the weekend of December 17th through the 19th. 32 teams for that championship bracket, $250,000 on the line. Now, $250,000 sounds like a lot to us, but moving to this next event, it gets dwarfed by quite a bit. This is the final for Dota 2, the International 2021. October 7th through the 10th is going to be the group stage with the main event, October 12th through the 17th. John, I'm sure you're going to pull up the prize pool for us, but last we checked, I believe it was somewhere around $34 million. A lot of that being crowdfunded as well through the Dota players. I'm a big fan of the International. I think they do a phenomenal job every year, both on a production level, the teams just coming through and really making some big plays and really bringing some excitement to the crowd, whether they're there in person or virtually. And the International is definitely an event to mark on your calendar if you're a big fan of esports.
I'm actually looking for it right now. It's the International 10, correct?
I don't know what it is technically. I believe it might be International 10 because it technically didn't happen last year. This is where we would cue the Jeopardy music if we weren't going to get DMCA'd for it.
Everyone hum it, because I'm pretty sure we can't. If everyone's off tone or off beat or whatever, I don't know.
There we go. Chat is plugging Boomer Cringe GG.
There we go.
Perfect.
We're bringing it back.
Perfect.
Get all those socials Boomer
out there.
Cringe back.
Look at this. John had one job and he can't even pull up our stats.
Well, the one site makes it very confusing. So if it is the International 10, then here's what we're currently looking at. The International 10. So I just don't know if this is what it is. If it is, it's over 40 million already. So if that
Yes,
is the
that
case,
is correct.
yeah.
That is the number. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So we're at $40,018,195, and there's probably like 32 cents in there. But yeah, we're just gonna round it. So yeah, it's over $40 million for the prize pool. The Dota 2 community coming in clutch once again.
Yeah, and the base prize pool, guys, $1.6 million.
Yes.
Jumping all the way to $40 million. That's a $39 million increase right there overall. So really, really big stuff from the community. I believe it's through, I don't know if it's called a battle pass exactly, but something along those lines. Some new content, a little bit of campaign features, some character skins, all that goodness coming in and supporting this esports scene.
Yeah, you can see when those come out, they're represented by these large spikes, and then it kind of like levels out and then slowly grows and then it spikes again. Those are when those content drops happen to help raise that money. It's kind of like in League of Legends. Whenever a new character or a new champion comes out, a new hero or a new skin line or whatever, there's always that initial spike when it first comes out because you got to have it. And then you have everyone else that's like, I'm going to wait for it to go on discount. And it slowly starts to go up after that. So, but still, nonetheless, I mean, that's $40 million is huge.
Absolutely. And it's worth mentioning that other scenes like League of Legends has started doing more crowdfunding, nowhere near the level of Dota. Halo, it's $250,000 as the starting prize pool. They'll also be doing crowdfunding. I believe the new Rocket League scene has crowdfunding involved too. So lots of crowdfunding out there. We should see these prize pools continue to balloon upwards as it continues on. Sliding into our last couple topics of the day, Overwatch League playoffs, Sean, they wrapped up this past weekend. We've talked about them a lot on social media, but not on this show as of yet, to my knowledge. Shanghai Dragons ended up coming out on top. They were our prediction here on LvLUp. Are you surprised at all of the outcome? Or are you pretty set with how we predicted that to begin with?
I'll be honest. I thought it was pretty straightforward that it was going to be Shanghai. If you were to tell me Atlanta would be the team to get there from the lower bracket, that I would have maybe not picked. But Shanghai getting there and then Shanghai absolutely just demolishing Atlanta 4-0, that didn't surprise me. It didn't surprise me one bit. I feel like Shanghai was the best team in this league, and the second place team wasn't even close. So it's just one of those things where it's like Shanghai was from day one the best team in this league, and it shows, and they were able to make it all the way to the end.
Yeah, it felt like a pretty easy prediction there with the number one overall seed. And usually I don't like to go with the number one, but Shanghai just felt that dominant, that strong, and we both predicted them. In the end, they did close it out 4-0. As you said, Atlanta was a bit of a surprise coming in as that fifth seed, but in the end, not enough to take down the Dragons.
What about the Gladiators down in match 11 in the lower bracket? Taking Atlanta to 5 games. You know, this Gladiator team took one map off of the Shanghai Dragons. This Gladiator team is a team that struggled against, teams like the Washington Justice, which had a little bit of a roller coaster of a season. But nonetheless, the Justice made a decent performance here to make it to the postseason. Unfortunately, they faded out after 2 games there. But, it's one of those things where it's like, that right there, if you just show me match 11 that Atlanta barely beat the LA Gladiators, I would have told you there's no way they make it to the grand finals. But they were able to. They took down the Shock, they took down the Fuel, and they punched their ticket to the grand finals. And then they got absolutely throttled. But other than that, good for them.
Yeah, their reign ended before it began. They're in the finals, but they did at least make it there. Shanghai coming on as your Overwatch League champions for this season. Looking ahead to next season, a couple details. Free agency for Overwatch League opens up on October 9th. That is when you'll see teams begin to make negotiations and sign some players that might be outside of their current team. On top of that, each org must have at least 6 players signed by January 3rd. That is the league's ruling on that. On January 3rd, they want to start getting the stuff together for promotion of the season ahead, as well as make sure everything is good to go and boxes are checked legally. On top of that, the next build will be played on Overwatch 2, according to the league at the moment. They're hoping for some kind of April start range. We'll see how that ends up going, depending on how Overwatch 2 develops. It will be a little bit of a pre-build at that point. It probably won't be a public release, but we'll have to see what they bring to the table as we look forward to the next season. Over to League of Legends, the world's play-in group stage kicks off next week, Tuesday, October 5th. That one will be happening with the play-in group stage. 2 groups in there, teams of 5, with the first 2 advancing from each group to eventually make their way into the main stage and join the groups of 4 over there. I'm excited for this, John. League of Legends Worlds alongside the Dota International is one of the best events of the year. When you look at prize pool money, Dota is definitely the winner. When you look at viewership, League of Legends hands down takes the W. I'm excited for this to kick off again Tuesday, October 5th. The play-in stage, not as exciting as the main stage, but there are some great teams in there like Hanawa Life, Cloud9, and others. We'll have to see what they bring to the table this year.
Yeah, and East Coast fans rejoice. Those games start at 7 a.m. Not 2 a.m., not 3 a.m., not 4 a.m., 7 a.m. Joey, the last game on Tuesday starts at 2 p.m. I mean, give me a break. Like, how awesome is it? Obviously, if you're in school, it's not awesome because, you know, you're probably not going to be on your phone or your tablet or your computer in the middle of class while Mr. Smith is teaching you important history lessons. You know, you're definitely not watching League of Legends. I would imagine they have that blocked in school. If they don't, then I think everyone would be a great student and have it in a small window off to the side. But neither here nor there, Joey. I'm going to be watching this at work. I think it's great. I love the times. I love it when it's in Europe. It just makes it so much easier for us here on the East Coast to watch, which I think is great. I don't mind every now and then having to wake up at 3 a.m. to watch Cloud9 potentially win. But as a Cloud9 fan, I am rooting for Hanawa Life to somehow choke to get Group C placement for Cloud9 because I don't want nothing to do with Group A. But Cloud9 has to take care of business themselves, and I'm super excited for that 1 o'clock match on Tuesday.
Absolutely should be a fun one to watch. My next question in relation to Worlds, we did have the World song release as well. It's going to be Burn It All Down. Coming out is the Worlds 2021 theme song. Have you had a chance to listen to it yet? And if so, what are your thoughts overall?
I have not. And the reason I have not listened to it is because I found the songs to be very disappointing over the last several years. And I just wanted to save myself the disappointment again. I will eventually listen to it. I've seen the music video a little bit here and there. I think the music video is never the issue. The music video looks great as always. But I'm not ready to be let down by another subpar Worlds song. So no, I have not listened to it yet. I'm still trying to prepare myself a little bit.
I hate to be that guy, but if that's what's holding you back, it's probably for good reason.
Oh, no.
I would rate this one pretty darn low. Unfortunately, I like it has a good beat to it. It sounds very familiar to some other song. I don't know if it's a KDA song or exactly what it is, but it sounds, I don't want to say not original, but it really just didn't pop out to be something super unique. So it's definitely toward the lower end of my World song. So I am, again, curious to hear what you think maybe on a later episode of LvLUp as Worlds continues to commence, and you eventually have to hear it one way or another. Yeah, I'm very curious to get your thoughts, but yeah, not super excited for that one, me personally.
I'm terrified.
Last but not least, for Worlds, our Pick'em group is live again. They haven't officially started, so they're not doing Pick'ems for play-ins. They never have. They're looking toward it for the future, but they're still not quite there. Similar to LOL Fantasy, which was supposed to come back, I think, like 3 years ago at this point. We're still waiting on that one. Riot, you know, they take a little while with their spaghetti code to do some updating. Apparently, that applies to the website as well. Eventually, we'll get that, but at least for now, we will not. Our Worlds group is technically live. There is a link posted on our Discord, discord.me/OTN. We'll go ahead and make it more of a public link. We'll put it in the announcements channel. We'll ping people eventually as we get a little bit closer, and it does eventually open up where you can make picks. We will have Riot points on the line as well. So even if you don't play League of Legends, maybe you're a Valorant player or a Wild Rift player, Legends of Runeterra player, and you want to come in and just make some educated guesses, or maybe not so educated guesses, you can go ahead and do so as well. Riot points will be given away to the winner. Maybe even the first couple people. We'll see how many people end up joining in the end.
Jerry, are you ready for some random pop trivia real quick?
Pop, like pop music, or random pop, like it's about to pop up and I'm gonna have no idea what to answer.
Popular culture.
Oh, let's do it.
And music also. You said spaghetti, and it reminded me, I just read an article today. Rapper Eminem just opened up a restaurant in Detroit called Mom Spaghetti after one of the lyrics in his song Lose Yourself from 8 Mile. So yes, he has opened up a spaghetti to go restaurant in Detroit, and he was at the launch signing autographs for fans and everything that were purchasing Mom's Spaghetti. You said spaghetti code and it popped in my mind. I was like,
wow, that is definitely one to look forward to, guys. If you're in Detroit, maybe go ahead and order some. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you on Twitter, which we'll get to in just a minute. The last thing I want to mention, John, before we wrap up, because I forgot to include it in the notes, guys, next week is a big week for gaming and esports. There's a lot happening. World's kicking off. We're getting close to the International. Halo, there's going to be some more update news as well. Maybe some more acquisitions. Who knows? But the other thing, Windows 11 officially launches next week as well. So I don't think it'll be pushed completely to PCs, but it is pretty gaming focused and it will eventually make its way over. So whether you're playing on Steam or the Microsoft Store or Epic or whatever, if you're on PC, you're eventually going to get impacted by that update. So keep an eye out. So hopefully it doesn't restart during a stream.
That, and also please make sure your computer is compatible with Windows 11. Do not upgrade your PC to a new operating system if it cannot handle it. It is a great way to run yourself a $500+ bill to buy a new PC. Don't do it. Just please pay attention to what your computer can handle so you don't end up with a gigantic paperweight on your desk.
And John, do you have a good resource for people on that? Will Windows run their automatic check, or is there a certain website they should go to?
So Windows does have a tool on their website that you can use to check your system. Essentially, if your computer is roughly 2015 or newer, you should be fine. Theoretically, you should be fine. There are some, computers that may not qualify based upon processors or based upon, graphics capability or the RAM or storage. Like, these are all things you have to take into account here. There are certain factors that will hurt your computer's chances of upgrading. From what I was reading, if you have Windows 10, you do get the offer for a free upgrade to 11. That will be a window, no pun intended. Generally, for these upgrades, there is a limited time that you can get that free upgrade. It's usually up to the first service pack. Then after that, they force you to buy a new license. It may be different this go around. But that is something to keep in mind also. I know personally for myself, I'm not going to upgrade on day one. I'm probably going to wait a couple months, let those early bugs work themselves out, and make sure that the programs that I use are compatible with the new operating system. That's something else that tends to happen, is that these developers have to wait till they get a copy of the operating system to make those changes to their programs so it doesn't crash. Just a couple things to keep in mind. Not saying don't do it, just saying be careful when you do it.
Absolutely. And with that, John, I think we're ready to wrap up today's episode. We covered a lot, guys, from acquisitions to roster moves to upcoming esports events, gaming news, and more. And we look forward to bringing you more next week as well.
All right, Nation, that will do it for this edition of LvLUp Live. But before you go, head over to patreon.com/OTN and consider becoming a part of the Overtime Network. In return, you'll get access to exclusive content that nobody else in the world can get unless they are part of OTN Media. If you have not already done so, make sure you are following the show here on Twitch to catch the next episode of LvLUp Live. If you listen to the show on the podcast feed, please leave us a review. The podcast is available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. We would love to hear from you. In fact, we love to hear from our entire community so much. There are multiple ways you can reach us. Joey, what are some of those ways?
Absolutely. LvLUp Nation, head on over to Twitter and find us at LvLUp Live, LvLUp Live. In addition to that, you can follow the umbrella company OTN Media on Twitter and Facebook as well, at OTN Media, and on Instagram at OTN_media. Last but not least, hit us up with a follow, maybe even a nice Twitch Prime sub over here on Twitch, twitch.tv/OTN Media. This show, LvLUp, broadcast Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
T-Spans over here in chat saying the show's finally over. T-Spans, we'll deal with you in the voice chat later on. But Nation, make sure you tune in next Thursday, the 7th of October, as we cover the latest and greatest in gaming and esports news. Do your ears and eyes a favor, hit that sub and follow button to know when the next episode of LvLUp Live is ready for your viewing and listening pleasures. We'll catch you all on Thursday. Have a fantastic weekend. Remember, be nice to your fellow gamers online, and as always,
level up.
Bye.